Good day, everybody. This is 311 Griffin, and I want to do another video about GIMP and some specifics about how to use GIMP to make skins for DCS. A long time ago I made a couple of videos about using GIMP to make skins where I went through the process of generically how to make the skins, and then how to convert them to a bitmap, and then how to convert them to a DDS file, then how to put them in the game, and all that good stuff. So I'm not going to talk about those specifics, but I wanted to do a video where I tried to help people better understand how to I guess do specific things in GIMP that can be applied to anything, but in this case would be used on a skin. And so let's see, I know I need to work on some of these. Trying to think of which one of these would be best, but I'm just going to go ahead and open up the front one here. Let's see. And I normally like to work on GIMP in multiple screens because the toolbars and everything just kind of get in the way, and I don't have my settings right on this computer at the moment, but we'll just do the best we can. Again, this isn't specific, this isn't basic stuff about GIMP. This is going to be a little bit more specific. So if you're not familiar with how to use layers and paths and things like that in these tools, these various tools, then you may want to brush up on some of that stuff and watch some other tutorials and things like that. And then, a couple more disclaimers. I don't know much about Photoshop, and I don't know, I've tried to use Photoshop a couple of times. It didn't work so well for me. Some things would be different in Photoshop, and there are some templates, layered templates, that don't work in GIMP, at least not the version that I have. So like the Harrier, for instance, it doesn't work here because it's got some grouped layers. Another disclaimer, I don't really do things the correct way, typically. I do things a little bit different. So I usually I either watch another person doing GIMP stuff and I learn from them, or I kind of make up my own way of doing things. So anyway, let's get into it. These are some things that I've figured out that kind of make my life easier. So if you get a good layered project or template, I mean, let me kill some of these that I've done. Those can go away. And oh yeah, yep. These can go away. So if you get the base skin, it's going to look something like this, and it's kind of nice because you can select a layer. So we've got this light blue here, and you can zoom in. Now, you don't have to zoom in for this part, but I don't know, it looks like that's feathered a little bit, which is really awesome. So you can actually select, use the fuzzy select or the select by color, and yeah, you can see it's feathered. And you can actually let's just duplicate that layer, and then we'll make that one go away. I like to duplicate layers, that way I've got the original. Let's zoom out a little bit. So one of the things that I do is once I have whatever outline that I want, if I want to change colors, that's really easy to do. So let's say we wanted to make this like a camouflage type color, like a forest green or something like that. So we can come in and just color it. Now the problem is, as you can see, that it's not feathered anymore because we just picked a selection. The feathering, and you can see how this is it resizes the windows and stuff. I've got to fix that in my preferences, but yeah, so it's not feathered anymore. It's just, that's the full thing. It's just coloring to the edges. Okay, so if you want that feathered look, there are some ways that you can do that. And I think, let's see, I don't do feathering very often, But if we go to select, invert, I use this select all, select none, select invert. I use select invert a lot. Okay, so if I pick the eraser now, I believe, maybe I can't. I thought that you could, oh no, it's the selection tool. So let's select none, and then let's select outside that region. You can see this harsh edge where it was feathered and it colored all the way to the edges, but it's missing some points. That's just from the feathered edge. But we're going to pick the transparent area. Oops, I did it wrong again. I told you I don't do this very much. Let's pick this up, and here we go. Let's feather the edge, and let's put like a 20, let's put a 30 radius on it. Okay, and now we can select that, and let's see what happens when we delete it. It feathered it a little bit, and we can just keep hitting the delete key until it's feathered the way we want. You don't want to do it too much, but you see what I'm getting at. Okay, so then we could even we could duplicate the dark blue layer, and then let's select, we're going to go back to this, and we're going to turn off feathering edge for a minute. Or actually, let's try it another way. Let's try it another way. So the way we just did it, we colored it, and then we deleted out a feathered edge around it. This time, let's feather the edge, and we're going to turn it up to, let's just turn it up to 50. This is a large file, so we can feather it quite a bit. And now let's select, make sure we're on the right layer, and we're going to select this dark blue with the feathered edge. Okay? Now I want to zoom back out, and it's going to change my window again because it's stupid. Or I am, one or the other. And let's pick our new color. And with this one, we're going to do like a I don't know, flat dark earth kind of a color. Okay? And let's see what happens. I honestly don't know what's going to happen here. Let's see what happens when we do this. It should be somewhat feathered. And yeah, I'm getting kind of wild with the brush there, but yeah, that looks feathered. So that's kind of cool. And I don't use that very much, but you know, once you have your blocks or your color areas figured out, you can do that, and then we can go down here and we can just select, we can do a new layer. Okay, and then we can color this one in. What do we want to do? Let's do like a darker brown. And of course we want to select none. You can do that with Shift Control A if you want, and we'll just use the bucket tool, make sure we're on that layer again, and fill it in. So there you go. This is a way that you can take the templates as they are now, and you can very quickly create a pretty nice what do I want to call it, different color scheme kind of a deal. Now, one thing that I want to point out, and this is a little bit trickier, you can see some bluing around these edges. So maybe I didn't color, or we didn't select everything. I don't know what's going on there. That may need to be fixed. And I'll show a better way to do what we just did as well. So let's go ahead and make those go away. And I really need to fix that. So let's say, actually let's do this, and we're just going to select, I don't know if I can do that. Yeah, whoops, I'm on the wrong one. Control Z is your friend. There we go. So we deleted that whole thing. So now, I'm not using any other layers. I'm not using anything else that can get in the way or cause problems like that blue line. I can do the Freeform Select, which I use this a lot, and you can just feather the edges there. We'll turn that up to 50. Now this will take a while freeforming, but the whole point is, you know, if you're wanting to make a curve, I'm not making it very curved, so I usually zoom way in, and I'll try to make it as smooth of a curve as possible. So you can do something like that. Okay, and now you can even add to the current selection. you can do that, and you can make a whole bunch of these. You don't have to have them connected. You can do them one at a time, or you can do them like I'm doing it. And of course, if one of the tricks to making skins is knowing where the seams are, so where one texture matches up with another one. Okay, so there we've got two selections. The edges are feathered. We're going to go back in here and let's pick our green one. And let's just color it in. So when you're feathering the edges, it actually doesn't look that bad. If you've got some more jagged, where they're not smooth, you know what I mean? So like the fact that we didn't have a smooth curve doesn't matter as much. Maybe that's too much feathering, maybe it's just right, you know. Let's delete that one, and we'll just do the same thing just so we can kind of see what it looks like with a couple different colors. So we'll just make one big section this time. And yep, we're still feathered there. Let's pick our brown. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see kind of how to do that. You'll be more meticulous if you're doing something. You know, you would be more meticulous when you're making your own. We can also move this down below that one so the green's on top. I usually wind up with multiple layers that are the same color, so I can stack them on top of each other and get the look that I'm wanting. Okay, so that is that's some stuff that I've learned that's pretty handy for this kind of stuff. What's something else that here's another cool deal. Let's say you wanted to put some dirt on top of this, and luckily these layers are also are usually the templates usually have this kind of stuff put in them. But let's get a dark gray there, and we're just gonna put like let's bust this down a little bit. Yeah, that'll work. And we're gonna make it a little bit different. Okay, so it's not quite what I wanted. I know what we can do. Let's do the Airbrush Tool instead. So see that it gets darker the more you hold it with the Airbrush Tool. Now I'm not very good with the Airbrush Tool, but you can do some, if you zoom in a little bit, you can do some kind of interesting stuff with it. But I have used this to create dirt effects on things, and that looks more like a porpoise. Let's make a porpoise dirt shadow. Okay, so now we've got like a dirt smudge there, and now we just turn the opacity way down to whatever level we want. And I mean, obviously that doesn't look that realistic because I'm doing it in a hurry, but we can even do more of them. You know, you can do a couple on the same spot or not on the same spot, and you can make them different opacity levels. So you can kind of work with that to make different things, you know, look I don't know, look kind of more realistic. I do it for shadowing sometimes. The opacity is pretty cool. I like messing with that. Let's delete that layer because I'll forget later. Okay, now one more thing. Let's say all this stuff down here, I think this is the last thing I'll talk about in this little episode. Let's say all this stuff down here is something I want to pop out on a new layer for some reason or another, and let's see where that is. It's probably already on a new layer, or on its own layer. Okay, yeah, it's on the details. So we got some details up here and some details down here, but let's say I want to change the color of these up there without changing the color of these. You can do that a couple of ways. Again, I like to duplicate layers sometimes just so that I don't mess up the original. In this case, it's pretty easy because I can just select all this stuff, and then I can do the select by color, and I'm going to subtract from the current selection. Okay, I don't want to feather the edges. I'm going to click anywhere in here where it's transparent on that layer. Okay, so it's not transparent over with all the layers stacked together, it's just transparent in this layer. So I'm going to click there, and you see I've removed all the transparent stuff from around those. Okay, that's very handy for a lot of things. So I'm not going to go through all of the areas where I use that, but sometimes you need to do a real quick selection in an area, and then you can go in and start removing other items from that area so that you wind up with just what you want. So I'm going to cut that with Control X, make a new layer, okay, and I'm going to Control V, paste that. Now you can move it around, rotate it, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to anchor it. One of the tricks that I'd like to mention is that anytime I want to move something or rotate it or stretch it or shrink it, I almost always cut it and paste it. For some reason, GIMP seems to like that, where if you just select it and then try to shrink it or move it, I don't know, I have some trouble with that, and it always wants to move whole layers and things like that when it shouldn't. So I usually cut it, paste it on the layer that I want, and then I start manipulating it, and then I anchor the layer. I'm not going to show that right now, but okay, so what I'm going to do now, I've got my new layer here. I'm going to select the transparent area. Oh, whoops. You got to fix this because it's subtracting from a selection of nothing. So we'll just do that. We'll select out here. I've got everything selected but these, so we need to go invert or Control I, right? And you know, I didn't really need to do that, I guess. Let's do this. I'm going to make this one a different color than this one, and I'm going to leave that one alone. So now we're going to do fuzzy select, subtract from current selection. Aha! That doesn't really work because these are all different colors, right? So I've got to do my rectangle select tool and do that. Now I've got this guy selected, and I'm going to zoom in on it. Whoops, we're down here. And let's go to colors. There's several ways to do this. You can actually desaturate just that part. See how it turns grayscale. And maybe you just want it grayscale. Okay, let's cancel that. You can also do a color balance, and you can start messing with these to make it whatever color you want. So if you want it like a, I don't know, like a weird copper color, you can do that. You can also do, you can use any of these things, you know, you can make it darker and lighter. It's kind of interesting. I don't use these that much. That gives it kind of a metallic look. I kind of like that. Let's play with that a little bit. I like that. We're going to do okay there. Alright, so now let's go down to this guy, and we're going to select him, and then we'll just select out the, it doesn't really matter, but we'll select out the transparent area. Let's go to color, and let's desaturate this guy. So that actually looks pretty good, but then we're going to colorize it after we desaturated it. I'm going to see what happens. Like I said, I don't play with this stuff very much, but it's kind of fun. Yeah, okay, there we go. So I've hopefully that's helpful. I've shown you how to pop things out, how to use the selection tools, deselecting, adding two selections, subtracting from selections. I don't know that we did the adding two selections, but anyway, let's see here. I'm trying to think of what else is helpful that I've learned. I use multiple layers sometimes to do selections. So let's say I want to select this tan area, and I know it's feathered, so this is going to look weird. So we've got that. I'm going to select that. Now I go to the green area, and let's say I want to select all that as well. Okay, so we're going to add to the current selection. Select all the green. Now we've got all of it selected, and we can go to a new layer if we want, and we can actually color in, let's just make it pink for the fun of it. And of course, see, it's not feathered because we just selected the whole thing. But you can use multiple layers to select something. or to build up a selection or tear down a selection. You can select something on one layer and then subtract out something from another layer if you want. That's something you can do. The opacity is obviously, one of my favorite tools. You can do a lot of cool stuff with opacity. There's a lot of other stuff you can do, and I know that there are a lot of other tips out there. I apologize, guys, because I'm not an expert of this kind of stuff. I'm far from an expert on this kind of stuff. I'm mostly self-taught with the help of some YouTube tutorials, which are always very, very good, or usually very good. And I wish I could teach more stuff, but all I can do is kind of teach stuff that I've learned over the years and the last few years, and I don't necessarily even know what I'm doing. So and now I get to fix that because I cut those. And oh, never mind, I forgot. See, that's why I duplicate layers. So now I can delete this guy, and I can delete that guy. Anyway, hopefully that was helpful, and if anybody has any other ideas or any specific requests of something that you'd like to know how I do, let me know. I can't always remember all the things that I do whenever I'm building a skin, so sometimes I just don't think about it. If anybody has better ways to do some of the things that I've done, feel free to share those, and I'm always happy to learn more about how to use GIMP better and be more proficient at it. So aside from that, thanks for watching, and take care. Happy flying.